Yes, you are listening to the Ready, Set, Retire radio podcast with Steve Anzuoni. My name is Jessica Forkel. Get more details on the website at fairwayfinancial.net. There's been a fear for years that when baby boomers retire, they'll pull money out of the market and trigger a crash. But the last boomers turned 62 this year. Many actually are already retired, and we haven't seen this happen. So what's the bigger issue here? What's the bigger risk? Is it that this generation starts pulling more money out, or they're simply not putting as much in, Steve? What do you think?
That's a fantastic question. And obviously, I didn't know the last boomer turned 62. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of both there, but clearly the money not going in could be interesting because you're talking about one of the greatest generations when it comes to wealth and accumulation, the boomers. And now they're in a position where they're transitioning from working years where they were contributing, most of them were contributing maximum contributions to their 401k, Jess, to stop contributing and pulling out. So it could trigger something, but I think the younger generation is filling the gap pretty well. I think because of the financial knowledge out there, for example, the Trump IRA accounts have garnered a lot of interest, and the Roth conversion conversations, or even the regular do I contribute to a Roth or a 401k conversations. There's a lot more out there today than there was 20, 30 years ago, and I think we should be able to transition okay. And companies are predicated on growth based on the need, the want, the desire. Obviously, AI is carrying a lot of that right now. Pro and con, a lot of people are concerned, scared for AI, which there's a reasonable belief there because it's new. Anytime something's new, we tend to back off. You ever notice like kids, they have no fear. They'll get on a computer and a laptop and they'll push buttons and they'll do whatever. And then other people get on it like, oof, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I think in the end, we'll be fine. We've transitioned from all kinds of things in the past, from the 60s and 70s and the 80s and 90s, and we've survived and we've done well. And so I'm not overly concerned about it, Jess. What I'm more concerned about is how people transition to retirement and how they look at their pile of money and how they determine how much to take out and where it's going to be and how those allocations are. To me, that's the biggest deal here with this conversation. And I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, about the guaranteed income scenario and all this other stuff. But I see that as being a bigger concern. I mean, people, of course, are concerned that everyone's living longer, which is true. And if you tug on the portfolio harder, it could be more stress on the portfolio and could run out of money sooner. But was it yesterday we hit another all-time high? It was nuts. So we're at 54,000 on the Dow,
That's right, yeah.
7,700 on the S&P. And everyone is seeing the glee and the happiness and, oh, my God, look at this. Life is wonderful. But the problem with that scenario is that people tend to forget what happened in the past. And there's a saying that history repeats itself. But people need to understand that the market goes up and the market goes down. And you shouldn't be too overzealous at the highs, and you shouldn't freak out too much over the lows. The middle ground is where you need to be, and that's where you park emotion at the door, and you walk through the door with logic. And that's what I try to do when I meet with people, is to say, stop looking at the picture today, because at 65, you're probably going to be around at least 20, 25 years. So let's look at the overall game plan, the overall picture, and how we're going to attack it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the right approach, which is why the Ready, Set, Retire plan that we do here is going to help people focus exactly on that, Jess. We're going to put together a plan that's going to take into account inflation, Social Security, the money you have in the 401k, how much guaranteed income you have. I mentioned Social Security, about when to take it, how to take it, all that stuff. So it's really a comprehensive plan that involves not just me, but other professionals in my office, that when we put it together, we've tried to think of everything out there that can impact your retirement plan and we put it together. And that's why it's flexible. Listen, here's your concrete plan. You got to follow this to the letter, because that's crazy. That's not going to work. So every year we review it. So that's why we stay in touch with people and why it's so important to have something in writing so you have a basis to go off of, Jess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to have a plan in writing, but also understand, again, it's not etched in stone. This is something that's fluid, that can change over time, and it will change over time. It'll change as your life changes. Maybe you welcome more grandchildren that you want to help out. Maybe you move. Maybe you get married, what have you. These are all factors that are going to influence what your income plan looks like. In this comprehensive plan, exactly what we're talking about here with this Ready, Set, Retire review, discover whether you're really prepared for retirement, right? Stress test your current retirement strategy and learn if you're taking unnecessary risks. That's what you're going to do here with this Ready, Set, Retire review. 508-552-3230. We are living longer, which is absolutely incredible, and that also changes how we plan for retirement. Morningstar recently asked the father of the 4% withdrawal rule, that is, of course, Bill Bengen, and he says what people are getting wrong.
I think many folks are not using a long enough planning horizon. They'll live to 95, perhaps, if they retire at 65, so they use a 30-year planning horizon. But what if they live to 105? Well, the last 10 years are going to be very uncomfortable if they have no money left. So I recommend that people build a margin of safety into their withdrawal plan. Take your life expectation, which you can determine over the internet, and add maybe 25, 30, 35% to that. So that if you're looking at a 30-year life expectancy, make it 35 or 40, and that'll give you a margin of safety so you won't have to deal with some really ugly issues later in life.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he's a pretty brilliant guy.
He sure is. Yeah, I mean, he came up with this whole 4% thing.
Yeah, I think he's in his late 80s, I believe, something like that. So he should know, right? But certainly you got to plan longer, and people are living longer. I mean, my father lived till 91. My mom is still alive at 90. And there's a lot of clients I have whose parents are in the mid-90s, Jess. So it's not unusual. Now, granted, they may not travel as much and all this stuff, but they still need money and income, and inflation is still there, and everything's going up. I mean, Massachusetts is not a cheap state to live in, so you're going to need money. But I'm certainly not going to argue with that gentleman. He is a very sharp man. And the 4% rule has been around for a while. And I think my opinion is it needs some tweaking, just like Social Security has been around for a very long time and is kind of outdated and needs some tweaking. That's all. It's not a terrible system. It's just antiquated. And so what we need to build upon is exactly what he said, to plan for income to last your lifetime, whenever that number is. So if you can take some of your pile of money, some of your IRA, 401k, whatever, and commit that to a plan that will guarantee a paycheck for you, and if you married your spouse, for life. So there is no deadline on that check. If you live to 100, the check's there. If you live to 105, the check is there. So you don't have to worry about, am I pulling too much money? Is this 4% rule good? I mean, I've heard both sides of the stories, that the 4% rule should be adjusted down and that the 4% rule should be adjusted up. So there's both sides of the argument there. My issue is, why even mess with that part if you can design a guaranteed paycheck that's going to be there forever? Then you don't have to worry about, did I pull out enough or not enough, or is it going to last? And I'm not saying you do that with all your money, because you know me, Jess. I am not a big fan of putting all your eggs in one basket. I never was, never will be, even as good as that basket looks. I mean, look at the market today, right? Everyone's like, oh, I'm killing it this year again. Oh, I'm up 65, 70% in the last 3 years. Yeah, you are, and that's wonderful. Is that guaranteed?
Yeah.
Well, is that guaranteed to be here next year? No.
Mm-mm. Nope.
What happened in 2022? People forgot they lost over 20% in the stock and bond market. What happened to that conversation? You know, which means that if you go back 4 years, your return is maybe up, 40-something percent, 50% over 4 years. okay, as opposed to 75, 80% over 3 years. So what if you go back 10 years? What if you include 2008, which was a massive black swan event? So this is what people are forgetting. And by the way, 2008 was 18 years ago. Aren't we factoring in 25, 30, 35 years in retirement, Jess? That means it's going to happen twice in your retirement that you're going to have a black swan event.
Exactly. Then you have to ask yourself, Steve, am I taking too much risk? If there's another black swan event, if there's another 2008, let's say you're 5 years away from retirement and you take a huge hit, a huge loss, that will derail your retirement date.
Huge. It will set it back years. So here's some mistakes that I've seen and how to maybe not get into that. So what he said, of course, plan for more years than you expect. I think that's a given, right? Be careful with the withdrawal rates. All right, 4% is a good starting point, but if you can have a product guaranteeing you a paycheck at 7.5% for a lifetime, my gosh, that's going to solve a lot of problems right there, Jess. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1,000%.
Definitely, you got to keep some growth in the portfolio. Another mistake I see some people make is when they retire, they get overly conservative. They reach their hands out and they grab onto that pile and they don't want to let it go. And what happens is they throw it all in the bank at 3%. They say, well, it's safe. I'm not going to lose money. Well, yeah, you are. You're going to lose to inflation. You're going to lose to a lot of things, taxes and so on. You need to have growth in your portfolio. I don't care how old you are. My mom is 90, and her portfolio has a lot of growth in it still. So don't take that away from the formula. Keep it there. And then, of course, you got to build in a margin of safety, that longevity risk. But that plan, that guaranteed income plan, addresses that margin. It says, hey, if you have $1 million and you use a 4% rule, that's $40,000 a year. But if you have $1 million and you take $400,000 of that and you put it in at 7%, that 7% of 400 is almost $30,000 right there. That means you only have to draw about $10,000, $12,000 on 600, okay, which is only 2%. So you see what I mean? So you're eliminating a lot of that risk factor. If the market turns, your income won't be affected. And the last thing you want when you're retired is to have your income check affected in a big, big way because, hey, if you've been out of the workforce for 10 years, you might not be able to get back in either through health or just through knowledge. I mean, look at the knowledge train today. I mean, come on. I'm so happy I'm in this business and have been forever because I don't know if I could start over, Jess. Certainly I can't get into the technology world. My God, I'd be lost soul there. I would. I mean, listen, Tracy makes fun of me, my wife, but I just learned to cut and paste like 5 years ago.
Oh, my gosh. Steve.
I know. But
listen, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses.
Listen,
it's okay.
Thank God I'm really good at what I do, and I'm really I just enjoy the financial puzzles of putting together people's retirement plans. I love it. I do.
Get more details on the website fairwayfinancial.net. That's fairwayfinancial.net.
Steve Anzuoni is a licensed insurance provider by the Division of Insurance and is not registered as an investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve Anzuoni, Massachusetts Insurance License 3851053. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Anzuoni is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Anzuoni is licensed in your state, please call 508-398-3337.